Hello. It's Aaron Mack, BS Detector, back once again. Got to keep spreading the message, sharing the truth as I find it. So, after going into some of the more like historical stuff regarding the Khazars and Judaism and just how that all kind of came about separately from the Judeans that were living in Rome at the time of, the destruction of the Second Temple. Two totally different sets of people, and like no way to prove who's who anyways, because genealogies have been destroyed. So I thought that it would probably be a good idea to go into Kabbalah, because that's what's ultimately behind all this BS. Okay. And this is crazy because, dude, this guy that wrote this, he is an atheist. I think he's a staunch atheist. Christopher John Bjerknes. I remember seeing him maybe probably like 10 years ago on, I don't know if any of y'all know who Adam Green is with No More News. He was on YouTube, but he got kicked off for telling the truth. I mean, essentially. But he's still on Rumble, I think. And I think all of his stuff is uploaded to BitChute. But anyways, he had Christopher John Bjerknes on as a guest because Adam has been screaming for a decade or longer about Shmayanism and what these people have said out of their own mouths about us, the non-J. And, they've been very open about their plans, which are very destructive, as we can see what's going on over there now with this war and crap. So, this book doesn't really have an introduction. It's just called Beware the World to Come. It's got I think it's called the Sephiroth tree. Don't quote me, bro, because I'm not a Kabbalist. I don't know. Anyways, chapter 1 is called Androgyny Agenda. And this is for the purposes of education and entertainment. I'm just going to be reading and commentating on what is said here. So, if you would like to follow along, please do. There's a lot of strange talk these days about genders. For anyone over 50, gender confusion appears to be something new. In the old days, things were simpler. Kids were taught that there were males and females and that men and women were fundamentally different and easy to distinguish from one another. At some point in life, there was a chance you would learn about hermaphrodites, whose bodies had both female and male characteristics. But in general, most people spoke about boys and girls, men and women, and never entertained the possibility that the sexes might be combined into one androgyne. Not too many people realize that the God of the Bible is actual 3 gods rolled into one androgyne. The male god Yahweh, the female goddess Shekinah, and the androgynous union of the two in one being, which is often represented as, quote, the Son, which to them is Yeshua, aka Metatron. Okay, it's not Jesus. The situation has dramatically changed. Many individuals, groups, political movements, religious movements, professional standards committees, legislators, clergy, teachers, academics, law enforcement officials, journalists, opinion shapers, etc., are arguing over how many genders there are, what form they take, what rights they do or do not have, and why it is or is not important that we recognize them all. Where did all this controversy come from? Languages include genders in their grammar, articles, and pronouns, often in beautiful and meaningful ways. English has a his and a her. German has gender articles such as der for the masculine and die for the feminine and das for the neuter. In America, pink was thought to be a female color and blue predominantly male. Gender has literally played a leading role in human cultures throughout recorded history in patriarchal and matriarchal societies, and strongly manifests itself in the natural world and in the anthropological discoveries. So why are things changing now? Great question. Things are manifesting. Demons are manifesting, ultimately, but he's gonna give us a more rounded out explanation here. because sometimes it's not good enough to just be like, it's demons, man, even though it is. Okay. It is true that throughout history, there has been some blurring of the lines between male and female. Homosexuality was rampant in ancient Greece. Males often portrayed females in stage performances. In Sumer, the Gala priests of the goddess Ishtar confused male and female traits. And there were many androgynous gods. Some of these gods had both male and female faces and sexual organs. They were thought to have created men and women in their divine androgynous image, not as distinct beings, but as androgynous beings who were later separated into the two sexes, literally cut in half to form man and woman, which we know that ain't right. The chromosomes of a male human being provide us with a good analogy for the androgynous gods of the ancient world. They are composed of the male chromosome coupled together with the female chromosome. A male sperm cell joins together with a female egg cell to form a new organism which contains both male and female genetic material. Some of these ancient androgynous gods had breasts as well as beards. Things became even more confused when the gods broke apart into male and female, and when they separated the androgyne Adam into Adam and Eve in a divine act of mitosis and meiosis. The Jewish mystical set of beliefs known as Kabbalah professes that the corruption of the androgyne gods and of androgynous Adam into distinctly male and female forms was a terrible calamity that needs to be rectified through a process the Kabbalists call Tikkun Olam. This expression means that the Jewish people must, quote, repair the world. So now they have a mandate, okay? It's up to them to repair the world. They believe that that this process of repairing the damage began 6,000 years ago when Adam was created, then divided into Adam and Eve, and needs to be completed now or terrible things will happen. Fixing human beings by making them androgynous will also repair the gods and return them to their androgynous form, because what happens on earth affects what happens in heaven. The androgyny agenda is a religious agenda. It is a Kabbalistic agenda. So obviously, probably Islam, Christianity, they are, I think they have completely different creation stories. I don't think Christians or Muslims believe in any of this androgynous BS. But I do find it very interesting that the Jays have so much control over the text of the OT. It's like if you're not reading it in Greek, I don't know. Anyways, I feel like the lying pen of the scribes is the Masoretic text, and that's pretty much what everyone's reading out here. King James, even the Et Sefer, this big, beautiful Bible that I bought. And this, I bought it twice, just like this book, because I bought this, and then one of my semi-regulars at the bar, like, he used to come in with holy water in the bar and, like, anoint the bar with stuff. So I thought it would be nice to give him this, because it's like, you know, got the Hebrew names and all that stuff in it, which when I was getting sucked into Hebrew roots 10 years ago, I thought this was like the jam, you know, because it's got, everything is Yasharel, and like every word is like Hebrewized, which now I realize is absolutely, utterly ridiculous, because it's like none of that was even probably spoken at the time. Hebrew is kind of made up. So, but it does have like the Enoch and the Apocrypha in it, which is cool to have those books like all in, and then it's got this kind of handy case. Anyways, I don't know why I'm going off about a Bible. Just went off on a tangent, excuse me, friends. Okay. Oh, well, I was talking about Masoretic. Okay, anyway. Okay. Androgyny-based ancient religions hold that not only are male and female one being in the proper order of things, but that in the beginning and end of history are also one and the same form. That is to say that human beings must and will return back to their original state of androgyny and mirror the gods, who will follow suit and once again become androgynes when the world has been repaired, quote, as above, so below, end quote. For example, according to Kabbalah, humanity was created about 6,000 years ago in the androgynous form of Adam and must return to that androgynous state in the world to come, Olam Haba. In fact, the Messianic age, which is about to begin, will not arrive unless and until human beings are converted back into androgynes. No, thank you. The Christian Kabbalists Jacob Boehm, William Blake, and Franz von Baader each recognized the androgynous nature of Adam. Baader, an early 19th century Catholic theologian, stated that the Trinity is androgynous and that human beings will return to their ideal androgynous state as the world to come approaches. The article for, quote, androgyny in the Encyclopedia of Homosexuality states, I think these are probably some of the books that the Austrian painter was burning. Remember when he went to that Jewish center and like burned all their books and stuff? That's because this is what they were about, you know, because it's a very Jewish thing, even. Roman too, but like this, it's almost like part of their religion with this crap. Okay. Franz von Baader from 1765 to 1841. And isn't it interesting? I just think it's interesting, like the timing of this stuff. It seems like all this stuff is starting like when Little Season of Satan is starting. Like all these crazy ideas, it's just all like being put out there. Like at the same time that Satan is being loosed from the pit. It's just very fascinating to me. It's lining up. Anyways. Okay, Franz von Baader from 1765 to 1841. That was how long he lived, who interpreted the sacrament of marriage as a symbolic restitution of angelic bisexuality, believed that primordial androgyny would return as the world neared its end. And remember what we have read about Tavistock and how it has socially engineered everyone into this. Do you think that all of this crazy trans crap would be possible and all these kids getting brainwashed into this cult, and it is a cult, without TikTok? You think that's gonna... No, all of this shit has been planned, bro, for a very long time. Okay. The Wikipedia article for Franz Xavier von Baader writes, one of Baader's central ideas is his concept of androgyny. The androgyne is the harmonious fusion of the sexes, resulting in a certain asexuality, a synthesis which creates an entirely new being, and which does not merely juxtapose the two sexes in an inflamed opposition as the hermaphrodite does. Following the literal wording of the first of Genesis's two accounts of the creation of man, and that is facts. Chapter 1 is one account, and chapter 2 is another account. And you can see that very plainly once you look at it. Okay. Following the literal wording of the first of Genesis's two accounts of the creation of man, Baader says that man was originally an androgynous being. Neither man nor woman is the image and likeness of God, but only the androgyne. Both sexes are equally fallen from the original divinity of the androgyne. Androgynism is man's likeness to God, his supernatural upsurge. Hence it follows that sexes must cease and vanish. From these positions, Baader interpreted the sacrament of marriage as a symbolic restitution of angelic bisexuality. Interesting terminology. The secret and the sacrament of true love in the indissoluble bond of the two lovers consist in each helping the other, each in himself, towards the restoration of the androgyne, the pure and whole humanity. Ultimately, Christ's sacrifice will make possible a restoration of the spiritual and of the primal androgyny. Baader believed that the primordial androgyny would return as the world neared its end. End quote. Adam was fashioned from clay after the androgynous image of the Trinity of the gods of the Jews, Yahweh, male, Shekinah, female, and Ein Sof, androgynous, and also symbolized by the androgynous son of the male and female parents in the Jewish Trinity. Now, listen, don't get this shit confused with what Christianity teaches, because it ain't the same. And that's where people have got to be very careful, okay? because the truth is very important. Every jot and every tittle, right? Like, we've got to pay attention to what this stuff is really saying. And, you know, it does help to know when we are, so that we're not deceived into this end times crazy crap. I went to a funeral yesterday. Best friend's grandmother died. And this woman was like loved by a whole entire community. I didn't get to go to the funeral because it was a little drive a ways. And I was exhausted, physically exhausted from working all weekend. So I went to like the gravesite where the burial was. And it was great. It was very uplifting. She lived a very long life. We have no question that she's with the Lord. But they were talking about, you know, the rapture and when Jesus comes back. And I'm standing there going, no. Like, he already came back, dude. He already came back. And so this is a deception that needs to be exposed. And this is the foundational basis of that deception. Because basically, you know, this saying Adam was fashioned from clay after the androgynous image of the Trinity, of the God of the Jews. Okay, that's not what the Greek LXX says. It just doesn't, okay? All this extra crap is from the oral traditions, the Talmud, which is basically this. Okay. Let's see. So, when the Jewish people have successfully repaired the world 6,000 years after Adam was created, and I find that to be very interesting also, that their little timeline or whatever, they're trying to act like it's adding up with this prophetic BS, okay? But it's not. They've like added like 1,000 years to our calendar. If you go to World Calendars, I think it's called .com, or maybe it's .org. I don't know. Just put in World Calendars. Nepal literally thinks we're in the year 1447 or something like that. That sounds more like right when you consider the millennial kingdom and them just adding like the dark ages, you know, it's like, what's that about? I feel like they know exactly what happened during, quote, the dark ages. And you know how the devil likes to totally flip things backwards. I think these were not the dark ages. They were the light ages. It was a millennial reign of Jesus on the earth. You know, I mean, how else did these buildings get here? All these cathedrals and all that stuff. We can't even build that stuff today, dude. And then the further down you go into the ground, there's like not just tunnel systems, but actual, like, you could tell buildings that were like houses or apartments or whatever. But there's a whole civilizations underneath our feet, because maybe even there's been a couple of resets. I don't know, but I just know that there's definitely the great and terrible day of the Lord, it seems like, because what's her name that brought up the whole meltology thing? I can't think of her name, but shout out to her. She had a channel, and like, I think she coined the term meltology to describe all of the stuff like out west and stuff. Like, some of it looks like it could have previously been buildings and stuff, but a lot of them are melted. And then you can even see this in other deserts, like you know, over in like the Middle East and stuff, and like old parts of Europe. Like, there's definitely ruins that were burned and melted. So I just don't think that we're in the year 2026, okay? I don't buy their little account and story of things, and especially once they want to take the Old Testament and just add to it, it almost makes me question it altogether. And I think it's pretty much irrelevant at this point, as long as you have the New Testament and you know Jesus and you talk to him. He's the way, the truth, and life, and nobody gets to the Father except through him. So I feel like a lot of the Old Testament shit that people get hung up on, like, irrelevant. And it's actually feeding more into all this bullcrap too. Anyways, let me digress and keep reading. All right. Okay. when the Jewish people have successfully repaired the world 6,000 years after Adam was created, which is about now, oh, is it? Then all human beings will again become androgynous beings as it was in the beginning, so it will be in the end. The androgyny agenda is therefore a significant aspect of the, quote, Jewish mission to be, quote, a light unto the nations, end quote, and, quote, repair the world, end quote, known as Tikkun Olam, which divine work necessarily sets the stage for the Jewish world to come. The Zohar, written by Moses de Leon in the 13th century, okay, which is a very huge part of, where's my coffee? A very huge part of the like oral, I think, law or something. It's a part, I don't know if it's a part of the Talmud or if the Zohar is like totally separate, as if it's like totally like mystical shit. I don't know what it is. I need to look. Okay, maybe it'll tell us. Okay, it says the Zohar, written by Moses de Leon in the 13th century, originated the occult system of Kabbalah, which is driving the androgyny agenda of Tikkun Olam, repairing the world. And how are they going to do that if everyone is agendered? Nobody's going to be having no babies. Everybody's going to go extinct. What is stupid? Like, this shit is so stupid. I mean, just so dumb, dude. As above, so below, which creates a unity between the gods and humanity, heaven and earth. Quote, whatsoever is found on earth has its spiritual counterpart on high and is dependent on it. When the inferior part is influenced, that which is set over it in the upper world is also affected because all are united. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. That which is above is in the likeness of that which is below, and the likeness of that which is in the sea, regarded as the mirror of the inferior heaven, but all is one. Asterisk, asterisk, asterisk. As it is in all things below, so it is above. End quote. According to Kabbalah, Yahweh, actually the Elohim meaning, quote, the gods, El Asherah and their son Baal, separated Adam, who is both male and female, into Adam and Eve. And if all goes well, the clock then began to run until 6,000 years have passed, and the descendants of Adam and Eve have prepared the world and merged back together into androgynous beings. Androgynous Adam had within him, her, all the, quote, twin souls of the Jays, the androgynous souls of all the Jays that became separated into male and female half souls when Adam split into Adam and Eve. Jays who are presently mere male or female half souls look for their ideal soulmates to marry, the identical half soul which is separated from them when Eve was cut from Adam, so that they can reunite into a form of the male-female twin soul and have children. Hold on. Okay. I had to go get my coffee. It was way on the other side of the room. Okay, Jays are reincarnated over and over again during the 6 days or 6,000 years of creation because they are imperfect and must repair themselves bit by bit in each incarnation of their half souls. Their beliefs in some respects mirror those of Buddhism and Hinduism. They repair themselves in the world by following the 613 commandments or mitzvot of their Canaanite gods El and Asherah, whom they have renamed Yahweh and Shekinah. Hence, you're seeing this reemergence of like telling Christians they have to follow the law of Moses. No, you do not. And you see here, Yahweh is a dang demon. All right? They will continue to have children until all their half souls are repaired and become androgynous twin souls again after the 6,000 years of creation have passed. Children are needed so that all the androgynous twin souls created in Adam can be reborn as male and female half souls into new bodies through a process of reincarnation or Gilgal, and carry out Tikkun Olam, repairing the world and perfecting themselves, until both of their half souls are fully perfected and their twin souls are reunited in the Messianic age, or, quote, the world to come. Olam Haba. They will then enter one immortal and androgynous body as opposed to the current imperfect state of things where man and wife suffered through life by being born, giving birth to children, and dying. The half-souls do not necessarily progress toward perfection at the same rate and do not always meet to marry, which is why many marriages fail. Sometimes one half One male half soul marries the female half soul of a different androgynous twin soul pair. This constitutes a form of, quote, prostitution and produces an unhappy result of an ending in divorce. Oh, is that how it works? According to Kabbalah, when the Jayish Medagogue Ein Sof decided to create the universe, it first contracted itself to make way for the divine light of its being to enter the newly created vacuous space, the Zimzum, and form the objects of creation. I mean, doesn't the Hebrew language sounds fucking made up, bro. It sounds made up. Zimzum, like, get out of here. The Ein Sof then placed its divine light into 10 vessels, or sephirot, to contain it. 7 of these sephirotic vessels tragically shattered and introduced tohu and bohu, which was chaos, basically. And I remember, Rob Skiba, talking about tohu and bohu, and talking about how the world was without form and void, which it was really actual chaos. Chaos and void into creation. Okay, the fragmented vessels covered by the divine sparks of light and the shells of darkness, klipot, which need to be purged from the world so that purity and light can fill the world and take the place of the evil shells within the Zimzum. The vacuum which arose when Ein Sof contracted itself. This process of removing an evil and revealing divine sparks of light, ridding the world of the shells of darkness to leave room for the light, is called Tikkun Olam, which means the restoration of the world by the descendants of Adam and Eve, the Jews, who are composed of the divine light, not through the blood of Jesus Christ, okay? So we know this is bullshit, but we're going to read about it because they believe it and they're acting on it. Gentiles are shells of darkness, okay? We're shells of darkness, guys, which conceal the light and clutter the Zimzum with their evil presence. Oh, well, excuse me for cluttering your freaking world with my evil presence. Even though all I'm literally trying to do is wake up the people to your shenanigans. In order for the vacuum to be filled with the good of light and only with the divine light, Gentiles must cease to exist. You hear that? Let me read that one more time. This is on page 8, okay? We are on page fucking 8. And we've already got down to the fucking point. They want to kill us. I mean, I've been trying to tell people that for like literally over a decade. They're trying to kill us. They're trying to unalive us through every method and means possible. And who do you think is behind all of that? These people. Okay? It's very simple. Okay. This is wild. This is some wild shit. In order for the vacuum to be filled with the good of light and only with divine light, Gentiles must cease to exist. Because they are not only evil darkness incarnate, but are shells that conceal and displace the holy light. Darkness must give way to light, and Gentiles, who are called the sons of darkness, must give way to the Jays, who are called the sons of light, so that the universe can be restored to its original perfect state of purity and order in the world to come. And human beings and the gods must return to their perfect androgynous state. Gentiles are not only sons of darkness, meaning that Satan created them by placing their first embryo into Eve to bear Cain. They are also, quote, daughters of this strange god Satan. Malachi 2:10-12 states, have we not all one Father? Hath not one God created us? Why do we deal treacherously every man against his brother by profaning the covenant of our fathers? Judah hath dealt treacherously, and an abomination is committed in Israel and in Jerusalem. For Judah hath profaned the holiness of the Lord which he loved, and hath married the daughter of a strange god. The Lord will cut off the man that doeth this, the master and the scholar, out of the tabernacles of Jacob, and him that offereth an offering unto the Lord of hosts. End quote. So this is where they're getting this effed up, okay? And this is where I have got to figure out Have they, the J's and their lying pen of the scribes, inserted this name Yahweh into what was the Greek LXX, okay? Because it was originally written in Greek. It was not originally written in Hebrew. No, it was not, all right? Ptolemy had it written because it was all separate little books and little writings. Ptolemy, okay, who was like, I think the leader of Egypt or something, had some of the scribes put it all together in the Greek language because that was the prevailing language around the world at the time. So anyways, I'm in the middle of trying to figure out, is Yahweh truly the God of the Old Testament? Because, you know, like Israel Anderson's, I mean, he does a great job of just comparing the fruit of Yahweh or to this Old Testament God to the fruit of Jesus. And they're night and day, bro. I mean, they just are. So it kind of seems like maybe, I don't know. You know, we get the basics of like the creation story in Genesis and stuff. And I feel like some of these men maybe that were following the most, maybe there's kind of like a dual narrative or something in the Old Testament. I don't know. I have to literally get down and study this because I know the Jews say that Yahweh is the God of the Old Testament, but is he really? I mean, I know Yahweh is the devil. That's why I'm trying to figure out, because a lot of people attribute this Old Testament God, they think he's the father of Jesus, and I just don't know about that. The restoration of the world must be completed within 6,000 years by human beings, or Yahweh and Shekinah will do it themselves, with disastrous consequences for humanity. The process is a cycle where the end matches the beginning in form and function. Yahweh and Shekinah started off as one androgynous being and must be restored to one androgynous being. They separated when Adam mistakenly thought that the goddess Shekinah was the only God. Shekinah left Yahweh when the first temple of Solomon was destroyed, and she then accompanied the Jews into the exile. The separation of Yahweh and Shekinah causes much suffering in the world. The temple must be rebuilt in order for Shekinah to return to Yahweh and for them to once again become one androgynous being in the world to come. Just as the gods must again bond into an androgynous being, so too must human beings become androgynes in order for the end of the cycle to match the beginning and the world to come to arrive. From Hermann Hesse's characters Steppenwolf and Siddhartha to David Bowie's persona in the movie The Matrix, androgyny is increasingly entering popular culture as we approach the end of the age of Pisces and the 6,000 years or 6 days of creation. This is in large part by design and is being deliberately orchestrated by Kabbalists. What I have been saying. What have I been saying? They are psyoping the Bible. And he says it right here. This is in large part by design and is being deliberately orchestrated by Kabbalists who are engaged in Tikkun Olam, restoring the world to a perfect androgynous state so that it will be the same at the end of time as it was when time began. The ultimate aim of Tikkun Olam is Tikkun Ha-Shekinah, restoring the gods Yahweh and Shekinah to their original androgynous union above in heaven. By reforming human beings to the original androgynous state of Adam before Eve was separated out from the androgyne Adam below here on earth, as above, so below. I told you guys. Once you have eyes to see, bro, you can just see it. And while I don't agree with Adam Green on, like, you know, he is a very, like, hostile atheist, I'll say. And it's unfortunate because you don't have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. You know what I'm saying? Like, parts of the Bible can be true. Jesus can be Lord. And the Old Testament can still be full of fucking bullshit. And Yahweh can still be the devil. You know? And the Jews can still be psyoping the Bible. You know? Like, all this fake end times crap that they're trying to get everybody to believe, they're orchestrating all of it. They can control the weather. They can cause earthquakes. They can cause rain. They literally have control over everything, okay? They are burning stuff down just to build it back and rewrite history. This is beware the world to come. I mean, if they get their way, this is where we will be. And most of us, unfortunately, will not be here because we are just goy. Okay? All right. The occult principle, quote, as above, so below, end quote, means that the lives and actions of the gods are reciprocally mirrored by the lives and actions of human beings. It also means that the lives and actions of human beings affect the actions and lives of the gods. How ridiculous. Furthermore, the doctrine articulates the belief that human beings were created as mirror images of the gods and the earth as a mirror image of the heavens. The symmetry between the gods and humanity, the heavens and the earth, is understood as giving human beings the power to mold the gods in their image and repair the damage human beings have previously done to the gods through their human misconduct by means of the restorative work of Tikkun Olam. So instead of like the restorative work that Jesus did on the cross and all that, no. We've got to let the Jews run the world and kill us all so that then they can become androgynes and, fix the gods because the gods clearly can't fix themselves. What? The only means the Jays have to reform the androgyne of Yahweh and Shekinah is to make human beings androgynous and to build the third temple to their gods in Jerusalem, because the gods in heaven mirror that the Jewish people do on earth. Should the Jays once again become androgynes, the gods will also become androgynous and order will return to heaven and earth. This tikkun, or repair of Shekinah and Yahweh into an androgynous form, also entails the restoration of the Jewish people to Palestine, the reconstruction of the temple, and the extermination of the Gentiles. So there it said it twice, okay? The extermination of the Gentiles. If you are not a J, it doesn't matter if you're Asian, Mexican, white, black, baloney color. If you are not an Ashkenaz or a Sephard, which I don't even think, at the end of the day, I don't even think they give a shit about that, because they're killing their own over there in Israel right now. Like, they're just unaliving people left and right, willy-nilly. They're even lying to the Jays over there. And that's part of the problem too, is the Jays themselves, most of them are just regular people who have to work jobs and pay bills. And they probably believe a lot of this crap. And then there's some that are just atheists, period, that I don't know what they believe. But, they're probably going along with this because this is some bullshit. Okay. This tikkun, or repair of the Shekinah and Yahweh into an androgynous form, also entails the restoration of the Jays to Palestine. So you see how long this has been going on. I've already read several books that prove that this shit has been going on for 1,000 years. And people that know, that have eyes to see, that we are surrounded by transformers. If you know what I'm saying. Yeah, that tracks. Because all of Hollywood is owned and ran by them. Most of politics. And you look at most of the first ladies and look at pictures of them, they're dudes, bro. All of the wives and the royalty, they're dudes, bro. Most of the female actors in Hollywood, they're dudes, bro. And a lot of the males are freaking females. And you can tell by the anatomy. What's that girl that she has that channel? I can't remember her. What? But she's like, bones don't lie, people do. I love her. She's great. And her channel's fairly new. Big ups to you, sister. I really like her. And that, it all is coming down to this. There are transformers everywhere because it's their religion. It's their religion. And part of their religion is to transgender themselves. And part of their agenda is to unalive the rest of the world so that they can take over. Okay? That's literally what I've just read to you for a second time. I mean, this shit is nuts, dude. Because the gods in heaven mirror what the Jayish people do on earth. Should the Jays once again become androgynes, the gods will also become androgynous, and order will return to heaven and earth. This tikkun, or repair of Shekinah and Yahweh into an androgynous form, also entails the restoration of the Jayish people to Palestine, the reconstruction of the temple, and the extermination of the Gentiles. whose souls are evil darkness. Shekinah will not return to Yahweh unless and until the temple, their bedchamber, is rebuilt. So, Judaism is like a weird sex cult, bro. It totally is. If the Kabbalists can make people androgynous, Shekinah and Yahweh will copy them once again and become one. If the Jays build a temple in Jerusalem, Shekinah will forgive Yahweh, copulate with Yahweh in the temple, and unite with him as an androgyne God, a trinity in one. If the Gentiles disappear, it will fulfill the laws of the 613 mitzvot, which the Jays are commanded to obey, remove the darkness, fill the world with light, and usher in the kingdom of Shekinah in the Sabbath millennium. The 7,000 years to follow the 6,000 years of creation in the world to come. By 6,000 years of creation, one is to understand that the old creation was only meant to last for 6,000 years. It will be wiped away to make room for the world to come of the Sabbath millennium. Quote, creation, end quote, is the active and ongoing process of repairing and perfecting the old corrupted world. Bro, that is laughable, okay? Because let me tell you something. The old world that was here before us was beautiful. They had free energy. Their water wasn't total shite poison. And that's because the devil was locked in hell for 1,000 years. And then when he was let out, him and his little fucking minions have been literally orchestrating events, rewriting history, pitting people against each other, kingdom against kingdom. And now they have brainwashed most of the Western church into thinking that Jesus is still coming back. He already did, bro. Anyways, since Shekinah is somewhat evil in the sense that she is female, and Yahweh is entirely good in the sense that he is male, that's not misogynistic or anything. The two together will balance the universe and coexist as one, like yin and yang. In order for the evil female to bond with the good masculine, it must first be elevated to a higher level, meaning females must now become more masculine. What do we see? What does feminism help to do? Masculating females and Shekinah is a major part of the androgyny agenda of Kabbalah. This is why the Kabbalists encourage lesbianism, as well as women working, soldiering, and assuming leadership roles in society. The world to come is the era of the goddess Shekinah, and as we approach this era, women must become more like men and men more like women. And that's exactly what you see happening. And they're doing it. They're putting chemicals in the water. I mean, like Alex Jones said, they're turning the freaking frogs gay, bro. Like, what if you get that statement and you understand what that means is they're putting chemicals in our bodies that are have like hormonal effects and that change us. And that's been happening for probably 50 years at least now. Okay. Howard Schwartz quoted from the original book of Kabbalistic Jewish mysticism, the Zohar, in his article Shekinah, God's Bride, to demonstrate some of the Kabbalistic lore surrounding Shekinah, the goddess of the Jews, who is referred to as the, quote, Holy Spirit in the Bible, end quote. Quote, however, in some sections of the Zohar, the central text of Kabbalah, dating from about the 13th century, isn't that interesting, that timing too? Because isn't that when the Khazars were pillaging and raping and doing all their business? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I feel like maybe they were in some of the 900s too, like the before the first century or second. You know what I mean. Okay. I mean not century, millennium. Okay, where are we? All right, I'm going to finish reading this, and then I'm going to stop it, upload it, and then do another one. Okay, quote, however, in some sections of the Zohar, the central text of Kabbalah, dating from about the 13th century, the Shekinah is clearly identified as God's bride. That's weird, because the Bible says that the church is God's bride. In some of these Kabbalistic myths, the coupling between God and the Shekinah is described in specifically erotic terms. That doesn't surprise me. Quote, The temple served as the sacred bedchamber of God, the king, and his bride, the Shekinah. The king would come to the queen and lie in her arms. He took his delight between her breasts. They lay in a tight embrace, her image impressed on his body like a seal imprinted on a page. Zohar 112, no, 120b, 374b, and 3296a. Other Kabbalistic myths portray a confrontation between God and the Shekinah, provoking by the destruction of the temple in Jerusalem, the Shekinah's home in this world, and the impending Babylonian exile that concludes with God's bride declaring her intention to abandon her spouse, God, and go into exile with her children, the children of Israel. Nor will she return to God until her home, the temple in Jerusalem, is rebuilt. It is in this central myth of the exile of the Shekinah that the figure of the Shekinah attains mythic independence, end quote. So that just sounds like a whole load of bullshit. Anyways, this book sounds like it's going to be pretty interesting. And so anyways, yeah, we're going to just expose this crap because, like, I have had just about enough of the lies and deception. Anyways, love you guys. All right, let me put that there. All right. I'll see you on the next one.